Travis Labrador, who's opposed to the item. Did you provide testimony on this item?
Do you want to speak, or? Do you want to speak, or you want to give the time to?
If all the points you were going to make were already made, you can certainly indicate so. You don't have to give testimony, but your opposition will be made known for the record.
Right, I will be passing on this.
Okay, thanks so much. What's that?
Would he be able to give his time to another?
Yes, but who would like to speak then? I have Sean Quinn. Is Sean Quinn here? Did you wish to provide testimony?
I just one point I wanted to make.
Please come forward and make that point. State your name for the record, and then you have up to 2 minutes of testimony, please.
Sure. My name is Sean Quinn. My concern with the version 7 of the draft was that there's not a lot of clarity around recreational and sport purposes for drones. And the reason it's a concern of mine is if I'm operating a model aircraft at one of the Phoenix sanctioned parks, like Coyote Basin, for example, that's probably 2-3 miles from Deer Valley Airport, and so it'd be inside that 5 nautical mile veil. Well, if the park ranger decides it's not sport or recreation, I just got a $1,500 fine when I'm doing what I can do freely today. So I just want to make sure we're very clear about what is exempt and what is not.
Thank you very much for your testimony. The way I generally do this is that there's a variety of viewpoints to be heard, so I'm going to go back and forth. So please sit down, and I'll call you up individually by name when it's your time. Next will be Bill Lowry, who is in favor of the proposal. Please come forward, up to 2 minutes of testimony.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I have a document to distribute.
Please, City Clerk will grab it from you and hand it to the council.
My name is Bill Lowry, and I'm with Drone Control Systems. Drone Control Systems was created to address many of the same drone-related privacy and safety issues that the proposed ordinance addresses. Our product is Lattice, that's Local Area Drone Dispatch and Authorization System. Lattice is a tool that cities and regulatory agencies can use to register drone operators, create permissible drone flight areas, that's fly-in, no-fly zones, to monitor and record drone flight activities, to alert drone operators to the proximity of other drones, and to deliver messages and bulletins like Amber Alerts to drone operators. The goal of Lattice is to promote drone privacy, safety, and responsible operation. This will further the commercialization of the drone industry. With regard to your proposed ordinance, Lattice gives you the tools to show that the city is operating within the ordinance's privacy, civil rights, transparency directives, to maintain accountability standards and records, and to provide drone flight reporting data. I'd be pleased to discuss how Drone Control Systems can support your efforts in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Lowry. John McDonald, representing NBC Universal, is marked as neutral. Did you provide testimony on the item? Thank you very much. William Marr, let's see, did you want to provide testimony, or did you want to donate your time to somebody else?
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Marr, and I am part of the Drone User Group along with Doug. We have 400 members. And growing very fast. We're basically doubling every month. And I am the one that actually had taken on the task of educating a drone user group. Their task is to go out and fly, go out and educate, go out and build, and we're a recreational nonprofit. So what that means is that we get to encounter a lot of people, and we go out and actively educate them on the safety and use. Now, the reason I want to oppose this is that right now the way the drone ordinance is written is that it doesn't, for recreational and sport use, it doesn't apply in the, the title, what is that, Title 4, having to do with, the first part of it, the item 23, it says it is specifically excluded. Is that right? From the...
I'm sorry, ask the question again, I apologize.
No, it's my understanding that in item 23, the text excludes the drones for use for recreation and sport use doesn't apply to all those rules.
I'll maybe turn to our professional city staff to give their analysis of what he's talking about. 23 is the resolution, 24 is a proposed ordinance. Mr. Dan Brown represents the city attorney's office, and he's been working on this item. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, so I requested at least I get involved because we're out there, meeting with hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yes,
We set up flights. And then as far as that item 24, we have talked to several people within the Parks and Recreation Department, and there is no consensus at all. We're getting very conflicting requirements from the park rangers as to what those rules are. Specifically, we would like to see the ability to set up signs and things like that that are precluded from the obstruction rule in the current rule that you have,
Okay.
proposed.
I don't know if anybody can provide, from our professional city staff, can provide clarity to this, the issues that Mr. Marr are bringing up.
Mayor, members of council, with regard to item 23, which is a resolution, that resolution includes policy statements. It is not directed to specific types of drones or whether recreational or commercial. They're aspirational statements. With regard to item 24, which is a proposed ordinance, it does address recreational use, and it includes, essentially states that consistent with federal and state law, you may use a drone for recreational purposes. With regard to the limitations in parks, drones will be treated, it is proposed that they be treated the same as currently treatment for remote-controlled model aircraft.
Okay, Mr. Marr, I hope that answers your question. Did you want to provide?
Yeah, so I have two things that we're opposing in item 24. The number
Yes.
one is this idea of the obstruction being a clear field. We hold races out there. We have to have safety signs. We need to have, tents set up. And when one ranger came by, said, yeah, that's fine what you guys are doing, and we hold meets every single week. And another ranger came by and said, oh, you can't have anything on the field.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, this appears to be more of an administration type issue. So regardless of what happens here today, we'll make sure that our city management gets with you and the user group that you're talking about, and make sure that we have clear rules that are enforced consistently across the board. That's a good point.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff Jordan, did you provide testimony, or do you want to give your time to Mr. Marr? I'm good at this point. Thank you so much. Richard Gayer, you're in favor of the item? Did you want to provide testimony? Great to see you. Then next will be David Noquay, I believe.
Yeah, somebody pass my time to Dustin.
Okay, well, I'll have Mr. Gayer come up, and then who is what's Dustin's last name? I apologize. Wait, okay, I'm sorry. I got to find your card here. Got it. Okay, Mr. Gayer, good to see you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, City Council, first I have a document for the council, if I could hand it in. What I'd like to add is that I would like to see the ordinance require city registration for all drones that are ½ pound to 55 pounds, as with the FAA regulation, and require liability insurance. That may sound burdensome, but if I'm hit by a drone, I want to be able to know who hit me and seek some compensation. The FAA allows registration by cities and states, but also requires registration with the FAA, which is to begin December 21st. Now, my hope is that homeowners insurance or apartment renters insurance would have an add-on that would provide liability insurance for somebody who operates a drone. Just a simple example, I live in a neighborhood where routinely properties are separated by 6-foot privacy walls. If I'm flying my drone and I lose control or it gets its own ideas, it can go over the privacy wall to my west and hit a young professor from ASU in the head while he's mowing the lawn. And I think it's only required that I should have a compensation available for that young man. So my points are simply city registration and insurance requirements, probably for a half a pound drone, $100,000, and for a big guy, $1 million.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gare, for your testimony. Let's see, David McQuay, you indicated you wanted to pass your time to Dustin Pennington. Mr. Pennington, did you wish to provide testimony on the side of Mr. Pennington? You're up. Let's see, you've had somebody donate your time, so you could have up to 4 minutes, but you don't have to use all 4 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Dustin Pennington. I am a local manufacturer of drones. While the registration and while the laws that are being put in place don't directly affect me, they affect my customers. And one of the things that I wanted to point out was a couple of the very large industries that Phoenix has passed up or is currently passing up because of regulations that are being put in place. One crude example is the marijuana industry is a very, very large, very lucrative industry, and the reason why there are restrictions against it are fear. No, it's not completely understood yet. Another one is the Gigafactory by Tesla that is being, Arizona is being passed up because of regulations and because of rules that Arizona has that's going to keep that enormous industry from coming into Arizona and creating jobs. Another industry right now is the drone industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the restrictions that are being put in place, while they're good and while they protect people, are restricting, and it keeps the technology from progressing like other industries such as Silicon Valley and other industries that welcome technology completely. Another industry is the golf industry. It's not being regulated or restricted, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that it brings in a lot of money, and the events and the activities that the drone industry will bring in a lot of money. One of a very large event that's happening really soon is $1 million purse in Dubai for a drone race, which could happen anywhere in the United States, but it's happening in Dubai because the restrictions are not restricting just like Arizona's are. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pennington. How about William Gowan? Hope I pronounced that correctly. Please come forward. Any testimony you have. You've marked your card as neutral, but any testimony you have for this council is appreciated.
Good afternoon, Mayor Stanton and council members. For the record, Will Guyana with the ACLU of Arizona. I want to start by thanking both Councilman DeCiccio and Councilman Nowakowski for ensuring that this process was truly collaborative and for actually seeking out critical feedback on this issue. A number of states and cities recently have attempted to regulate UAVs. In the past, Arizona has considered legislation on the regulation of UAVs, and it is widely considered that the state will bring that topic up again this legislative session. I think there's some important protections included in this ordinance, such as the requirement that law enforcement obtain a warrant before using a UAV to obtain information or evidence from a private residence. I did, however, want to flag one issue for you, and that is a large number of no-fly zones that are created by this ordinance around buildings and other areas that it defines as critical facilities. If you could think back almost 2 years ago now when our state legislature passed SB 1062, as we awaited Governor Brewer's decision to sign or veto that bill, large numbers of protesters and members of the media gathered outside the state capitol. If one of those citizens, one of those protesters wanted to put up a UAV to perhaps capture an image of the power of protest, under this ordinance they could not. If one of those members of the media wanted to put up a UAV to get an image or something for their nightly broadcast or the morning newspaper, they could not. In stakeholder meetings on this ordinance and here today in the resolution, we've heard that this is a new technology, and the goal here is really to let it grow while also protecting privacy and civil liberties. However, if we restrict its use around some of our most newsworthy locations, we both prevent its growth and we endanger civil liberties. The potential for UA photography as a tool for art, for journalism, and activism is significant, and the technology is too young to foreclose on these possibilities of it being used for these purposes. I'd like just to urge you as council members to consider the limitations this may place on citizens' First Amendment rights before passing this ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor?
All right, thank you very much, Councilman, but I'm going to first ask a question. So I think the testimony, while I respect it greatly, may not be accurate as it relates to the proposal. I think that media would be allowed to take use drones for that purpose as he described, and as well as if it's for artistic purposes, I believe that's in there. Obviously, we could have a long discussion about what is an artistic purpose, and we could probably have a equally long discussion about who is media, et cetera, which is questions we're having in our society now today. But I think under those circumstances, either for artistic reasons or for a member of the media who would like to take a photo, I believe those are exceptions and would be allowed to take use of drones for photographic purposes under the proposed ordinance. Mr. Brown.
Mayor, members of council, yes, it's expressly stated in the proposed ordinance that news gathering, journalistic, and artistic purposes are permitted and would not be excluded under the proposed ordinance.
And Mayor Stanton and council members,
Please.
if I could address that, as someone who is a member of the stakeholder groups on this, the way it was certainly described to us in those groups is that there are those permissive uses. However, the exceptions are exceptions to those permissive uses. So you can use it for journalistic purposes. However, you could not use it within 500 feet of this building or within 500 feet of City Hall. So
Thank
you
very
can
much.
use it for those.
I
But
appreciate that interpretation, and I wasn't in the user group meetings, but I don't know if anybody wants to, from professional city staff, give a perspective on Mr. Gowan's interpretation of the proposed ordinance.
Well, Mayor, members of council, we can certainly make that exception plain, but what we've discussed previously in the stakeholder meetings is, when you're exercising your First Amendment rights, the critical fly zones with regard to freedom of the press, artistic purposes, for legitimate purposes, those would not apply. And I think that there's been some discussion about making that express as well. But essentially, the no-fly zones were not intended to interfere or compromise news gathering, journalistic or artistic legitimate purposes.
Okay, Mr. Gowan, I appreciate your testimony. Obviously, it seems like there was very reasonable confusion that may or may not be clarified with a later motion here. I don't know if his reading of the existing ordinance as written was accurate, that it's ambiguous as to whether or not there is an artistic and/or media exception to the restriction on critical infrastructure. I'm asking the question because it's important that we provide clear ordinances.
Again, it's the way that the ordinance is drafted is the permissive uses are to the full extent permitted by law, and specifically the news gathering, journalistic, and artistic purposes were within that list. It is arguable, all lawyers could argue, that's what we get paid to do, essentially. But again, I think what we're offering is we can make the statement plain by listing it under the exception that the no-fly zone would not apply to news gathering, so.
Mayor, I'm going to may I add to that? Because I'm going to make a motion.
You may in just a moment. I still have the floor. So, but right now, it's not clear on the issue of artistic or media use of drones.
Mayor, again, we believe it is clear. We believe that.
Okay, in which way is it clear? I apologize, because I'm confused.
We believe it is clear that a person may operate a drone for news gathering, journalistic or artistic purposes within the critical facilities.
Okay, so I'm sorry, your interpretation, which and the reading may have been ambiguous, but you've heard at least our professional staff's interpretation, and it sounds like there may be an attempt, I'm not aware of it, but maybe an attempt to clarify further in this meeting. Councilman Tizio, go ahead.
Yes, we've worked, and thank you so much for working with us. It's been a long process. But no, I'm going to add some other language that is going to clear up a lot, some of these other issues that have come up. Basically, it's just going to say it's going to add the exception over the no-fly zone area for critical facilities for news gathering, journalistic, artistic purposes. It's going to say that it's going to be in the exception area as you're requesting.
And Mayor Stanton, Councilman DeCiccio, thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks again. You did a lot of work.
The next speaker is David Ornelas. Did you provide testimony today? Yes, sir. Please come forward, and then followed by Michelle Ulmer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me a chance to speak. I'm kind of new to this, so please be patient. I'm going to be a little more less technical and a little bit more real. We're talking about an activity that has been passed around for generations. Started off with model rockets. It started off with my father getting me involved in RCs. I'm involved into it. I showed my son onto it. The technology is growing fast and it's incredible, and the safety features that come with these drones is unmatched. My question is, and my concern is that none of this was brought up until there was a camera put on these vehicles. Now, I understand that there's a fear of that because people are worried about their privacy, but I can almost guarantee there's nothing really exciting in your backyard that we want to film. Honestly, our cameras all have phones, and nothing has ever been said about the technology that's moved forward with that. I could do more against your privacy with a selfie stick and my cell phone than I ever could with any drone. Please understand, I understand your situations and your concerns, I really do. But I also want to add that drone technology in the UK has surpassed us because they're not being limited. Can you imagine if the city opened up and let us move forward with this technology? We'd pass all other cities. We were told that we were the best run city in the world. Why can't we prove that by showing support for the drone movement? The benefits outweigh more than anything you can consider. From search and rescue, I mean, you name it, there's any aspect. For example, I've been told that when I go to the dunes and I ride off-road, if one of my friends or my members in my group is broke down out in the middle of nowhere, I'm not allowed to send my drone up to search. I could spot anything out there in the dunes way quicker than it would to take for somebody to get out there in a sand rail, bring in a helicopter, and such. In closing, I just want to say that the decisions made here today, I hope, are based on necessity and not on fear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ornelas. Michelle Almer, did you provide testimony on this item? You were marked that you're opposed to it. And then we'll follow by, if you wish to provide testimony, Joe Nutaro.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Michelle Almer. I'm the Executive Director of the Arizona Retailers Association, and we're here in opposition today, regrettably, because as of yesterday, we were neutral. But we've learned that there are some changes that we are totally unaware of. We haven't been having the advantage of being part of the stakeholder process, and a number of my members are actually the ones that sell these things. And so we'd like to respectfully ask to be included in anything that goes forward. And if there is some opportunity for consideration of the where these are used, that is our concern. And while I haven't seen the most recent changes, I learned about them just at like 2:30, and so my members directed me that until they have seen them, we have to oppose, and where yesterday we were neutral. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Almer? Councilman DeCiccio, do you have a question, please?
Like, what would you be opposed to in here, Michelle? Like
The
specifically?
restriction on use in the parks.
That is an issue that's going to come up. We'll address that later.
Okay.
The question is whether or not they have unfettered access to the parks. And we'll deal with that in a motion I'm going to be putting together.
Okay, thank you. But I don't, until I have direction from my members.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's just an issue of being aware and being able to get direction from the folks that are impacted on the sale.
Thank you very much, Ms. Almer. Next speaker will be Joe Nutaro. Would you provide testimony to this council?
Excuse me, my name is Joe Nutaro. I'm very much in favor of using drones in parks. My question is clarity of the ordinance. If it's passed as written, will it be legal or illegal for a hobbyist, I'm talking about a hobbyist, not a commercial use, a hobbyist to fly a drone over his neighbor's property without the neighbor's permission? It's just a simple question.
All right, is any of our professional city staff prepared to answer that question? Mr. Dan Brown?
Mayor, members of council, it will be as fully legal to the extent that it's legal under federal and state law for a hobbyist to fly over his neighbor's property, his or her neighbor's property. There are other issues if he takes images with the drone, if there are other, and he has to comply, he or she would have to comply with the federal regulations about the maximum height, comply with the regulations related to being within 5 miles of an airport. All of those regulations apply. So, but to answer the question, yes, will be legal after the passing of this ordinance for a person to be able to fly their drone over their neighbor's house.
Okay, so I would suggest that that be changed. It's like Paradise Valley. In that, again, we're talking about the recreational drones. And most hobbyists want to work in parks. Just to make it such that a drone can't fly over a neighbor's property without the neighbor's permission. And that's, as I understand it, that's legal under the FAA regulations, that the local community has the right to set up the safety standards. And it does already in the parks, for example. Anyway, that's my suggestion. That was my opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Notaro. Next is Stuart Goodman, who's marked that he's opposed to the proposal. Mr. Goodman?
Mayor, members of the council, for the record, my name is Stuart Goodman, here on behalf of Consumer Technology.
Can we get his mic on, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the record, my name is Stuart Goodman, here on behalf of the Consumer Technology Association. Before I begin my remarks, I do want to clarify with staff, if I may. Are we on version 8? I heard a gentleman talk about version 7. I know there's been some confusion. I just want to make sure my remarks are consistent. We're on version 8. Is that correct, Mayor?
I would ask Mr. Brown, which version are we working off of for purposes of what's before the council right now?
Mayor, members of council, the applicable version is version 7. That is the version that was made available to the public for review in compliance with state law. So it is actually version 7 that is presented before this council at this time.
Mr. Goodman?
Mayor, thank you. So the Consumer Technology Association is comprised of over 2,000 members, or 2,000 companies, excuse me, ranging from small startups to large companies like Google and Amazon. We're focused and we agree with the intent of the ordinance, the notion of having the use of drones in a safe manner, respectful of neighbors and other interests of critical infrastructure and public safety. There's no disagreement on that. So we agree with the notion. We think largely a statewide option may be ultimately the biggest goal, but nevertheless, the overall intent that's being debated here today, we are okay with. The issue goes back at this point. So on December 10th, we had a meeting with senior staff and with council staff. It was productive. It was constructive. It ultimately yielded a version 8 that was released on the 14th. At that point, much like Michelle Almer talked about, we have been neutral to supportive, recognizing the tremendous changes that were made that were beneficial not only to the city, but to the industry, to the hobbyists, to commercial interests, and the like. This afternoon around 2:30, I get a text message from a colleague that talked about some additional changes beyond what had been the agreement to version 8. The issue for us is in section 1 has been largely vetted. The changes that we requested largely were made, not all, but largely were made. And Mayor, members of council, may I continue because of the...
You may, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In section 1, we solved those concerns from a public safety standpoint, from an industry standpoint, and I'm here to tell you that we are largely good to go on section 1. Part of the agreement that we had in version 8, again released on the 14th, was the complete removal of section 2. With the idea being we would come back at a later date, working collaboratively with the city, working collaboratively with staff, collaboratively with other interested parties, and finding solutions to some technical, some philosophical issues in the section 2 relating to parks. That's not to say that we're opposed to the parks issue, but the section was not even discussed at the December 10th meeting because we were told right from the get-go, to staff's credit, that section 2 was being removed. I would tell you today that, again, version 8, which is essentially my version of the agreement that we were told we had, you have a section 1 that's vetted and a section 2 that is unvetted. There was no exchange like we had in section 1. Mayor, members of council, what I would respectfully suggest is if you need to adopt an ordinance today, you have section 1 that again, I think my client certainly does not oppose, but section 2, under any circumstance, because of the fact it was unvetted, because we had the understanding that further discussions would be held, that we would be a part of, working in a constructive manner, could be postponed so that the same details that allowed you to have a good working section 1 could be applied to section 2. That's how I was brought up in municipal government as a young professional. That's typically what I've seen, and I think that would serve the public, serve the industry, and with all due respect, the council as well, in having the dialogue that did not occur at the December 10th meeting because we were told section 2 was being deleted. Mayor, members, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodman. Any questions for Mr. Goodman? Councilman Cease, you have a question?
I can explain that out too. The section 2 basically deals with complete access over the parks. And the language that we have in here currently says that they would be required to get permission, no different than basically the model aircraft would. And there's definitely some issues that would need to be handled, but if we don't include that going forward, Stuart, is this, according to the staff, is that then we run into a legal issue. So part of the motion is going to be, and I believe Craig may have communicated that with you or with somebody in your group, is that we want to move forward the language that's in here, and you're right, because I was planning to just say, hey, we'll just take it out, we'll work on it, because it's a small part of it, but it's a big part for your industry. And I do appreciate all the other work. I mean, just so that the rest of council understands, almost every single change, the reason we've had so many changes on this thing is because we've been working on it for so long just to make sure we got it right the first time. But there are only 2 issues that are left on this. One is dealing with the airport, people wanting to fly drones within the 5 miles of the airport, and the other one dealing with the parks. So the idea, Stuart, is I'm going to make a motion on this to move forward the more restrictive language that says you have to ask for permission to fly over the parks. That's really the only thing that's in there. But also have this thing come back to us and go to the Parks Board so that this can be vetted out that way. And I understand that there's a difference between commercial activity and hobbyist activity. I understand that. And I don't think anyone's looking at doing that. And really trying to find a way to restrict it. If you look at this, it's been very comprehensive. I mean, what we tried to accomplish here was literally to make it very industry friendly, but at the same time protect the privacy of the individual. From government, from the police, that's why we require them to get a warrant if they videotape us. And for that one gentleman, if they fly over your home, they do, but if they're videotaping you in your backyard, that's a problem. So, and you're not going to be allowed to do that. You cannot look at other people's private property. It's a private property right in their backyard. But on section 2, that's why the change is occurring. It's more of a legal issue than it is anything else, and you'll have time to work on that part. But all it says in here is it says you have to get permission. And I understand that there's a difference on the commercial, and we're going to work on that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. I think from our perspective, the issue regarding the legal issues that Mr. Cicio references have not been expressed to us. At the meeting on last Thursday, which is now what, 5-6 business days, that was never discussed. Staff and the city attorney's office was present in that meeting, was very clearly in the version that we were given, had redlined out section 2. I think all the decisions that the industry is making in regards to how we've approached this ordinance, how we've approached this process, has been based on the reliance of those good faith discussions. So, Mr. Mayor, members, I would again respectfully encourage to meet what I would consider the agreement that was reached at that stakeholder meeting, that was further emphasized by the release of version 8 in writing, with no communication to the contrary, that anything other than what was provided was going to be discussed today at this council meeting.
You want to?
Can we,
Councilwoman?
is there a possibility to continue this?
You
To
can make.
continue it? Because, I'm sorry? Item 24, Section 2 for me falls into item 24, if I'm correct.
Section 2 that anybody's having heartburn with, and that's the part that I think that the council, from what I understand, felt the strongest about. If they wanted to have it in there, then take it out if there's some other things later. I mean, from my recommendation was, I'm okay with taking that part out and bringing that back later, but my understanding from staff and others up here is that they want to include that.
Someone
So-
sort of alluded to that it had to
Councilwoman?
go together. There was an illusion that there was some
No.
legal protections that had to go
Well, Dan, you can answer that if you want.
with parks particularly.
Councilman, actually, I'll direct him whether he can answer or not, but I appreciate the suggestion. Mr. Brown, did you wish to provide an answer to Councilman Gallego's question?
So let me make sure I understand the question. The question is whether, could you repeat it so I can make sure and answer it properly?
Councilman DeCiccio had alluded to that staff had concerns about that this all needed to happen at once, or that we wanted the parks regulation, that just deleting section 2 would be a bad idea. I guess it's really a question for the Parks Department, maybe not a legal one.
Mayor, Councilwoman Gallego, the concern is currently under section 2449, that limits the operation of remote-controlled model aircraft to 8 designated locations within the city. If section 2 related to the operation of drones is removed, it creates the circumstance where you treat remote-controlled model aircraft operators differently than those operating drones. And it's a potential fairness issue. And so it's staff's recommendation at this point to essentially treat them the same until we can work through both with regard to remote-controlled model aircraft and drones, so that we can address both concerns at the same time through the Parks Board. But if you remove it entirely, at this point, there would be no limitation, and so someone could operate drones within the parks. There would be no way that would be addressed.
Thank you. Based on that, and we had a meeting with my office with a technology company that had expressed interest in changes in section 1, so my preference would be to leave them together and continue both.
Okay.
Sounds like Councilman Gallego is recommending that section 2 be left in, so as to essentially treat the drone industry similar to the model, what is the other, model aircraft hobbyists in that industry. That is at least her suggestion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mahoney, our Assistant City Manager.
It might be helpful to try to provide some context in the midst of the discussion that we're having, Mayor, members of council. We were given a directive that flowed from a previous subcommittee meeting that was actually a special call meeting of council to address this issue. Since that time, it has been a very fluid process involving the staff and a number of stakeholders from different industries within the community. As we have worked through the issue, we started from a single document, and that document was subsequently separated into a resolution that would express policy preferences of policymakers and an ordinance that would express the law that council wishes to or wish to enact. That process has been fluid to the point that the fluidity has extended beyond the point in time when we had to cut things off in order to make the packet deadline and put something before you. So normally, once that deadline is reached, what is before you is actually what's up for consideration. Part of the difficulty that we're having today is that there have been some substantive issues discussed and debated beyond the submittal, and therefore, essentially, we're sort of de facto making law from the floor. There's nothing that precludes that, but that's why there are various conversations that some people are aware of and others are not. But from a staff perspective, our job is to work to facilitate the will of the sponsors and the will of the policymakers, and we will do whatever it is that you direct us to in order to give you a clean bill, so to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahoney. Councilman Pastor, do you have a comment?
I would like to make a motion to continue it. Just the whole, I would like
23 and 24?
the
Laura,
whole
I did
thing
this
in
to
order for
accommodate
it to
you.
go.
That's what this is all about.
Well, no.
I did this to help you
is-
out.
This is not to accommodate
All right, so
me.
the motion is to
So-
continue 23 and
so,
24?
This is,
This is what it was about.
No, this is to
But-
accommodate the whole safety and community and understanding what is going on since many versions landed today. So,
All right, what date would you like to
Not
continue it
true.
to? Is there a date, a next council meeting?
I want to continue, I'm good with that, but.
Councilman DeCiccio, Councilman Pastor has the floor, and we're trying to clarify the motion and see if we get a second, then we have comments. You'll have an opportunity to speak, but please don't interrupt. January 6th or January 20, what's the other date?
January 6th.
January 6th or January 6th.
Six.
Is there a second?
My,
All right, so Councilman DeCiccio, a second the motion to continue. Councilman DeCiccio, do you have comments on that?
I did, because it's all come down to just one item primarily. I mean, this ordinance is good in itself. I mean, the question I had earlier too was pulling out this one section that dealt with the parks, working on it, coming back at a later date. My understanding from some up here was that they wanted to move it forward with that in there and then change it around. If we're gonna do, I'm okay with that. If you want to bring it up in January 6th, I'm good. It's been 1 year. we've
Councilman
worked on
DeCiccio
this
indicates he'll support a continuance.
Yeah.
We have a
But-
motion to continue.
Mayor, let me finish though, too.
No, only
It's
on
a
the issue of
frustration
continue, because
I
just
do.
like I directed the public, it has to be on the issue of
I am-
continuance.
I'm
Councilman.
talking about the continuance. So I don't mind doing that, because that is what I tried to work out with the groups, and I literally tried to find a way to make it work. It was like pulling hair on this thing, and I don't have a whole lot of that left. So I probably lost a little bit of it. But the idea then is really to, to make this as comprehensive as possible. If it's only going to be a couple weeks, I'm fine with that January 6th.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue to January 6th. We have a second. Is staff okay with that, to give enough time to deal with the issues that are being presented here today?
Mayor, the only thing I would say about January 6th is you've got 3 weeks now, 2 of which are over Christmas, and getting people together may be difficult. I'm not sure the staff will
I'll
be able
change
to
it to
gather
the second
everybody in.
meeting.
We will do our best, but I can't guarantee that by coming on the 6th, we're going to have had enough time to get all the folks we're hearing today together.
What's the next meeting after the 6th?
January 20th?
Councilman, what's your pass?
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is to continue this item until January 20th, 23 and 24. We have a second. Councilman Waring asked what year?
At this pace, it'll probably be in 2018, but no, 2000.
Okay. We
We'll
have a
get
motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass it, no. It passes on an 8-1 vote. Next item on the agenda is item number 25AG under the payment ordinance. Do we have a motion on 25AG?
Motion to approve item 25AG.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Councilman Gallego, do you want to make comments on that?
Yes, this is an item about our payment ordinance item with the Maricopa Sheriff's Office for the jail. And I had asked staff if we could look at this, given some other municipalities have been able to save money by partnering with other communities. And so I would ask the Vice Mayor if we could amend the motion to be able to approve $13 million in spending and a 3-month payment provision to let us be able to move forward with this during our budget process if we identify any savings.
Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, yes, we can, staff has already begun doing a little research on the issue of other jail availabilities, and we would come to the Public Safety Subcommittee in this group, and we would accomplish that before March 31. Based on this motion, this would be sufficient.
Based on what would
Based
be
on
the
the suggested
amended-
substitution or amendment.
Right, yeah.
Of 13 million with authority through March 31st, 2016.
Can I ask a question?
Councilman Waring, you have a question?
What other jail facilities would we find?
As I understand it, currently, the city of Tucson has worked with another county, Santa Cruz County, to try and do some arrangement at a different price point. So we would be doing research on what other county facilities are available close to the city that might be a possibility. We'd bring that research back through the Public Safety Subcommittee for their discussion.
We'd be sending our prisoners to Santa Cruz?
The concept in Tucson is Santa Cruz County. We would have to look at what's practical for Phoenix.
What would be the nearest county jail that's not in Maricopa?
Probably Pinal. But I mean, that's the kind of thing we would have to investigate.
Councilman Williams, you had some questions or comments?
Yes, included in this study, I want, if you're talking in another county, I want you to include transportation costs and potential liability for the city of Phoenix, because that is a huge number when it comes to jail transporting and dealing with these, considering 80% of the jail are Phoenix arrestees.
Mayor, Councilman Williams, that the budget and research review of that would include all costs fully loaded, transportation, liability, staffing, all those things would have to be part of the evaluation.
All right, thank you very much. So there was a motion and a second. I don't know if it was in the form of a substitute motion, or was it just comments, suggestions about how we proceed?
The motion, Mayor, the item is for 15 million through June 30th. So for something different, I would look to the city attorney as to what would need to happen.
I think we're going to need a motion to approve that.
Substitute or amendment?
So just offer a substitute motion?
Yeah, substitute motion would be
All
fine.
right, I offer a substitute motion on items 25AG to approve payment ordinance for 13 million and approval for 3 additional months under the payment ordinance. Is that?
And I'll second that as long as we take in consideration Councilmember Williams' concerns.
Yes, and we would refer it to Public Safety Subcommittee, looking at all costs, including insurance, transportation, booking fees, with the hopes that some competition maybe will save the taxpayers some money. Staff had shared with me that we did look at it 10 years ago, but it seemed reasonable to refresh that examination.
And I'll ask a question. Is the intent that this be a internal study by our own professional staff, kind of sharpening their pencils and doing their, best analysis about the total all-in costs of our current arrangement versus a proposed alternative arrangement?
Mayor, yes. Our budget and research staff is fully capable of doing this research and presenting it to the subcommittee, internal.
Okay, so there's been a substitute motion. Councilman Williams made some polite suggestions as to make sure that any study would be as comprehensive, apples to apples, as possible. That was accepted by the motion maker. It's been seconded. Any additional comments by members of this council as to the substitute motion?
Mayor, can we extend that to private jails also?
To look at private jails?
Right.
I'm going to ask the maker of the motion, because we do have a standing motion on the floor.
Yes.
And the second's okay with it?
Okay, so that would include private prisons? Even Kingman? Not Kingman, we're looking at Kingman. All right. And that the second has accepted that. Any comments now on the revised substitute motion? Councilman Williams.
Mayor, I will support this going to a private. I think the state has demonstrated clearly there are too many problems dealing with private prisons. I see no reason for us to repeat that or to have time such a purpose.
We can take private out.
I have no problem with taking private out.
Okay, so the substitute motion, revised substitute motion has been revised again to take out private prisons based upon Councilman Williams' suggestion. Mr. Attorney, are we okay? Are we going too far here?
No, we're okay.
Okay. All right, so now the revised motion is it was Councilwoman Gallego's original substitute motion for a payment for a shorter period of time, asking for a internal study, looking at all costs, all in. The second of the motion was okay with that. Any comments now as to the previous substitute motion? No comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Waring. Williams.
That was a no.
William. Valenzuela. Mayor Stanton.
Yes, so the substitute motion passes on a 7-2 vote. Next item on the agenda is item number 26. Request authorization to issue a 2-step RFP to dispose of city-owned human resources building. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on item 26?
Motion to approve item 26.
we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Councilman Noakowski, did you wish to make comments on this item?
On just basically making sure that there's some type of parking solution attached to this sale of the building or RFP process.
Mr. Paul Blue, our Deputy City Manager, parking as it relates to the personnel building.
And the reason being is that downtown, we're having some issues with parking, and I just want to make sure that if we, as the city of Phoenix, are RFPing or selling a building, that we're not a part of that growing problem.
Mayor, Councilman Noakowski, the building, as you rightly say, has no parking today. The RFP will be issued asking for solutions from private sector individuals, and we will be examining the feasibility of anybody's proposal. We're not putting a parking requirement in, but we will be examining parking as one of the features of determining whether a project is feasible or not as proposed.
Councilman, any other questions or comments?
So what is the norm, if someone was going to build the building with that square footage, what would be the requirement of parking as is?
As is, there is no requirement for parking in the downtown, under the downtown code. For the purposes of financing a project, typically someone is going to need at least somewhere between 2 and 4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of building area in order to get bank financing for their project. The market currently expects higher parking ratios than that, and our feasibility will be evaluating what the marketplace typically requires when we're examining whether someone has the wherewithal and the capacity to actually activate the building with a redevelopment use.
So just for clarification, so if somebody wants to come in and build a 22-story building in downtown Phoenix, a whole city block, there's no requirement for parking, right?
Councilman Noakowski, if it is not residential, they are not required to put parking per the downtown zoning ordinance. I would tell you as a practical matter, it is not feasible unless someone wants to build that building with cash to get financing with no parking. But as to what the zoning ordinance demands in the downtown proper, it is my understanding there are no parking requirements except for residential.
And just a follow-up question. I know that we created a parking cooperative. Does the parking cooperative show that there is availability in that area for parking to handle the staff or whatever that building would be in the future?
Mayor, Councilman Noakowski, I'm going to turn that over to Community Economic Development Director Chris Mackey to answer the question.
Mayor, Councilman Noakowski, our analysis, as we've shown it in that area,